What we are talking about today is that we want to talk about what is good English. Yes. Why we choose this topic? Because I got so much criticism from the Chinese people. Not from the native English speakers, not from anyone from the United States, from UK, from Australia, from New Zealand, or even not from the Philippines. And the Chinese says, "Oh, your English sucks. You speak very bad English, very poor English, you know." I admit, it's all my fault because I was born in China. And it's not my fault, actually, it's my parents' fault. They let me in the wrong place, so I could not speak very good English. And this actually, we had this problem before. I was criticized by someone. Said that I have no clue what you're talking about. Is that you are speaking English or not? So I put this on a video. When on the travel from Tokyo to Nagoya, I said my English is very, very bad. But I got so much encouragement from all the natives. So, Daniel, your English is almost like perfect. Don't worry. Okay, we love you speak English. We love you. You just keep saying anything you want to say. And I got so much support. So that made me feel a little bit better. And as a matter of fact, our Chinese program has been on only for about 1 month. But our channel has been on for 5 years and has always been my such poor English. And we got over 84,000 over 80,000 subscribers. The 80% of them are Americans.
80% of our viewers are coming from America.
And the rest is from UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Indians.
Yes.
Indians?
Yes.
And from Malaysia.
And you don't speak Hindu, last time I checked.
So maybe only 1% or 2% of our customers, our viewers, are actually Chinese. So I'm not come here to argue my English is good. I know my English is really, really bad. I know that. But we want to make the point, the standard, how you judge English. And Miss Mercedes, teacher Lapins, is an English teacher, qualified English teacher, and she has been teaching in English in Asia for over 10 years. She had taught English for over 10 years before she moved in again. She had taught English in Asia for over 10 years before she moved back to the States. Very good grammar. So she is qualified to talk about what is good English.
Hang on.
Oh, that's
Can
terrible.
You see it?
Yeah, I saw, and now it's gone.
Did it go?
It's gone, yes.
With the wind, and then our willow tree here it's got the little flowers all over it, and they're falling now. But it smells beautiful, and it looks beautiful. So we'll just endure. Huh? Okay, so.
That's something, before the talk, we have a poem. Yeah.
We have a poem. You have a poem?
Poem.
Pollen?
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Not a problem. Your singing, Staying Alive was enough inspiration. Anyway, so what I want to talk about here is actually the use of English. As a non-native speaker, it's really important to have the courage to use your English. That is the number one thing that helps students or learners become fluent and actually get into a new culture. In America, on a social level, on an everyday living level, people don't care about your grammar. We have got lots of native English speakers who have horrible grammar. And they use almost their own language that I can't even understand. Now, Daniel...
You don't tell... He don't tell me nothing. He how was that? He don't know nothing.
He don't know... She don't be telling me nothing, y'all. What? What? Okay. So, anyway, go to the same schools that I went to, but came out speaking a different dialect or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, all right, I have taught in Pakistan. I taught professionals at a university, actually the university staff. I was teaching them English. And my focus there was on conversational English. It was so that they could understand native speakers and so that they could express themselves and be understood by native speakers. And my focus then in Malaysia, I taught adults first, and then I started teaching younger children. My focus, honestly, has always been conversational English. And the biggest roadblock that I find with students of English is they are afraid or embarrassed to even try because they hold themselves to too high of a standard. And they expect that that I guess we think their grammar should be perfect, their accent should be perfect. And I've even done accent training in Pakistan for a call center. So people answering the phone, if they're in Pakistan, they wanted to have a better American English because they were hired by American companies to answer the phones. So I would even do the accent training. Now, in that situation, it is important because that's a professional situation and they're speaking to someone directly from the States. They need to be understood first instead of being on a phone call for a long time trying to be understood. But in your everyday life, and if you want to travel and you want to talk to other people and be understood and be kind of, it's not so much acceptance, but it is people can relax and then you can actually have a good conversation.
You can have a conversation flowing.
Yes, instead of being shy. Don't be afraid. One thing that I have noticed that is a huge difference between Asia and America, when I was trying to learn Malay, people would constantly laugh. Malaysians would constantly laugh and make fun of and over-exaggerate that they didn't understand what I was saying, even though my best friend is Malay, ethnically Malay. And so I knew the words. I could say the words, but my accent wasn't perfect because I'm not a native speaker, but they would over exaggerate and make fun of. So I just said, okay, forget it. What's the point? Everybody wants to practice their English with me anyway. And I don't have confidence in speaking a foreign language. German, I don't know, it comes naturally. Maybe it's in my genes, but German comes really naturally for me. In Pakistan, actually, I experienced something different. Pakistanis are thrilled when you try to speak Urdu, and they are very helpful. But in Southeast Asia, there was a huge difference of people really putting you down and making you feel like crap when you try to speak their language. In Pakistan, they loved it. They were helpful. It was really marvelous. They made me feel, they encouraged me to learn Urdu.
But I think in China, if you try to speak Chinese, people would be very much appreciate, and also they would love to speak English much more, of course. But they will not laugh at you. They will laugh, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
They will just, oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's amusing. That's, but in a friendly way.
Right.
But in the end, they will not really encourage you to speak more Chinese. Instead, they want you to speak English.
That's actually what I experienced. Not in China, because I didn't spend enough time there. But in Malaysia, Chinese, okay, when I say people ridiculed, honestly, they were the ethnic Malays who ridiculed more. Chinese would always speak Chinese to each other. They even if they're born in Malaysia, they learn Chinese, and that's what they use, or English. So everybody always wanted to practice their English with me. So I really never got the chance to become fluent in the languages there. In Thailand, forget it. People don't even understand English. So you're using sign language, which is another really effective tool. Don't be afraid to do that. That's a really effective tool in teaching that we use, is kind of pointing to things and then saying it in English, and then they'll say it in their language, and then you can be understood on a limited scale. But my point here is all of the people who are ridiculing Daniel's English, or anybody's English who has an accent, different degrees of accents. You can have a really, really thick, heavy accent in your native language. His is medium. Okay, I have a trained ear. I do know the difference. Plus, growing up, living in America, not just being an English teacher, a TEFL and TESOL teacher, not English literature, TEFL and TESOL specifically. His language skills are very good for someone who has not lived in an English-speaking country. You have not lived in an English-speaking country for very long. Yeah. Australia, okay. It was very short.
Yes. We stop here. So what teacher Labens, okay, Mercedes.
Miss Mercedes.
Miss Mercedes talking about is the first level. Where first level, you have to encourage to speak out. Okay, don't be afraid. Then now we come to the second level, how to catch a ball. Okay, if you can catch ball, you are in their own culture. As Miss Mercedes just said that I have never really lived in English-speaking country. Yes, I spent a couple of years in Australia, but I was also very much in the Chinese community. Okay, and then I lived in Norway. I used English, and of course I speak Norwegian. And then I lived in Japan for 20 years. I speak very good Japanese. So English country as a culture, not. But as a Western culture, I got a lot of culture. So I understand what people say and how to catch a ball and make joke, make a sarcasm.
So important in American culture. We're really sarcastic. Even to the people we're closest to, we care about the most. We joke and kind of it seems almost being mean to each other, but it's really very loving. When you can joke and call someone a bad name or play around like that, you know that they're in your inner circle and you love them.
and they're very smartly.
Yes, it's very witty humor. Yeah. You have to be quick because we use a lot of double entendres, which are double meanings for words. So we have words that sound the same but are used differently, and some of them can have a really nasty meaning and a double meaning, and usually it's a sexual connotation, and can have an ordinary everyday meaning. And sometimes people will say something, wow, you're looking at something at a store and you say, wow, that's so big, and then someone comes back and says, that's what she said. And you can catch what that means. And we do that in many things. That's what she said is very common, or that's what your mom told me last night.
Yeah.
And he gets it.
Are you talking about the lens as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Teacher.
Serious. Sorry. I've had a lot of adult students. In Malaysia, when I first got there, my primary student base were Iranian immigrants. And they were very cool. They come out of Iran and they open up. They're great.
So the language is so much to do with the culture. You understand the content or not. There are some people, try to show us their English. I am supposed to, from a certain organization, wrote us a very long letter in English. Very good English. Very good.
Too good. Too good.
Just, sounds like Shakespeare,
Well, the thing is, I wouldn't even edit unless it was a proper, government document, or NGO presentation type of stuff. I would never use that kind of English. Even when editing your book, you want it in casual English because that's how people talk.
But immediately we know this person is not in this culture. Okay, he is a foreigner. He don't just pretend to be. Oh, I'm from UK or whatever.
Okay, my vocabulary is much more vast than usual because I'm a teacher and because I read a lot and because I love documentaries and I'm a nerd. And also the people in my life are the same way. So we do use these words, bigger words, less frequently used words than normal. And so Daniel he is exposed to different words than the average American uses. But we talk really basic. And that's all you really need. You don't, unless you're looking for a specific one word that meets a specific feeling or something like that. Just a really basic vocabulary. You're gonna get along. Yeah. It's more the humor. It's more the wit. And the culture.
I would like to give you one more example. 2005, I was at New Hampshire University working in studying bow making. And of course, in the class, they are mostly craftsmen. Art craftsmen. We are bow makers, so they are not used to very, a noble language.
We call it flowery. English.
Yeah. Then I started asking, "Excuse me, sir, could I ask you a question?" The teacher looks at me. "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" Then I start talking, and the teacher said, "But excuse me, my English is not very good, I talk just too properly.
Yes, too properly, and that's fine when you're a beginner. So don't be self-conscious of that either. But what will help you a lot is to listen to native speakers and watch movies. And there are tons and tons of movies. You can find something that interests you. And then you can start to learn when people are laughing or you say, "Oh, why was that funny?" And if you can start to grasp the humor, you will automatically be accepted. A lot of times, that's why I wanted to give an example, not a specific example, but we'll be out somewhere and here in Las Vegas, it's a tourist town and people are really friendly, and it's really easy to just strike up a conversation over just about anything. Say you're waiting in a line and it's a really long line and people just start talking, or you make small talk with the cashier, things like this. He'll say something with a double meaning or referring to something else sarcastic, and it'll take about a second, and the English speaking person, because they're shocked that someone that looks like him and has an accent, so he's obviously not born here and raised here, and then they think it's even more amusing what he said because of the context and the fact that he's a non-native speaker, and they automatically relax and then they start joking back because they're used to non-native speakers in America, first off, from all different backgrounds, and we do adjust ourselves unconsciously when we know someone is not a native speaker, so that we make them feel more comfortable, I think, and we adjust our English as well, and our humor and our whole demeanor.
But in most cases, just after a couple of conversation, they will talk me as one of them.
Oh, definitely, and start throwing it back and forth. Yeah.
I give you another example about good English or bad English. It was a long time ago, 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. I was in Oslo University. There was a scholar from Africa give a scholarly speech at the university. So with a very heavy accent. So I was a Chinese boy, right? By that time, I said, "Oh, such a bad English. How can he, give a, scholarly speech here at the university?" Then my ex-wife, Mariana, criticized me. He said, "No, his English is very good. He's using very high-level intellectual English. And, so they judge English in a different level, different way. And another example is that in Oslo University, East Asian Studies, Chinese department, there are two professors, The lady is called Bully. Professor Bully is from UK. Okay, it's a lady. And she seldom spoke Chinese to us. Okay, always English. But sometimes, occasionally, she spoke Chinese, but it sounds like Asian Chinese, and we could not even understand.
Wow.
Okay.
Ancient Chinese.
Yeah, old Chinese.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very profound, like Li Bai or whatever the poem, like Shakespeare, Bharat Shah, in Chinese. There's another professor. His name is Hopsmell. Hopsmell is Danish. He loved speak Chinese. Okay? And he's talking to us all the time in Chinese and joke everything with very heavy accent. But we loved him. We all think his Chinese is much better, far better than Bully. Okay, Professor Bully. So this is our Chinese way to think, to judge what language is. There's another level. Of course, I'm a native Chinese speaker. Okay, I thought I had the authority or right to judge someone speak good Chinese or bad Chinese. I have the qualification, I should say. Okay.
Yeah.
Another example is that my ex-wife Mariana also spoke very good Chinese in a way. Okay, now she was a Chinese teacher. She taught Chinese, so she has some Chinese students at home. Okay, one day she was busy. Then I said, okay, why don't you let me take over your class? She really doubted and hesitated and finally says, okay, be careful, you say this and you teach this. I said, don't worry, I'm a Chinese guy. Okay. Then in the class, all the students were so puzzled and so confused. Then I was trying to very hard, nobody understood me, and finally they go to complain to my ex-wife, says that Chinese teacher is very bad. Very bad Chinese teacher. Okay. And your Chinese is much better than him.
Okay, what I would like to point out here, that's a really good illustration of what's important. Now, not to say anything bad, but obviously she wasn't teaching useful Chinese. Because if people want to speak with native speakers, that wouldn't work, would it? They wouldn't understand them. And that's why my focus has always been conversational English. Native American English speakers do not care about participles being left out. It's kind of like, have you ever seen those puzzles? I'm sure you've seen them. People pass around these memes and it will have the letters out of order, but your brain still read it properly, or the numbers out of order, but your brain inferred and switched it to the way it should be, and it worked. And that's how it works in American English, because we're so used to accents of all kinds. Our ear might just have to adjust to it. I mean, but it's not a big deal. I can infer that you meant he instead of she. I can infer that you left out to or be. It's no big deal. It really isn't. And I think that the main problem with Asian speakers of English is that they worry too much about perfection. They want to be perfect, like reading from Shakespeare or a textbook, academic English or professional English. And it keeps them from participating. It makes them self-conscious. It makes them withdraw and not get into the culture. And it's perfectionism in anything does the same thing to you. Perfectionists tend to be procrastinators. Procrastinating means that you put it off and you put it off until the last minute, and then you do it because you're so worried about doing it the perfect way. And so they never end up trying English and learning about the culture and getting into a new society. They come to a new country, an English-speaking country, and they just stay with their own people in their own part of the city and go to the same stores. They just won't they're just too self-conscious. So please, 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 don't be afraid to use your English. No matter how bad you think it is, it's not.
It's better not to use it.
It's better than not.
Yeah. It's better to use it than not to use it.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, the conclusion is, for those people who really worry about in my English, it won't help me. Okay? It won't help your English either. So either you just endure, tolerate, or you just shut your ears until Miss Mercedes start to talk. Okay? For those who purposely want to hurt my feeling, you got it. I'm really sad. Really, you hurt me so much that I dare not to speak English anymore. That's why I start speak Chinese.我英文不好了，你别这欺负我了，好不好？ So
just wait. I think we have a solution. There's one language that takes no words at all.
Not now. Okay. When you start. Okay. So okay. But for all the natives, I have to rather listen to all the natives to criticize me and help me with my English. But my English is not for the Chinese speakers. My English is for her. So if my English is good enough for her, I will try better. Of course, I try every day. Anyway, if my English is still very bad, it's her fault. Because she's my teacher 24/7. And if I still cannot speak good English, either I'm a very stupid person or that is not a perfect teacher.
Well, I'm not teaching for IELTS, so sorry. And I'm not teaching you, actually. He doesn't listen. It's his fault, not mine. Look at him now.
Okay, I think you all got the point. Okay, language is not for a test. Language is not for a score.
Yeah.
How much you can get. Language is not for show off. Language is not for people will admire you or not. Language is a tool that you can use to communicate. The tool you can use to reach your goal, and this is I have been doing for the last 40 years with my very poor English, and I also think I got somewhere. Even with my very poor, even much poor Spanish, I traveled all over South America, Central America with my that little Spanish. Okay, and I use my Norwegian to live in Norway. I got a couple of girlfriends. And yes, and I use my Japanese. My Japanese is not perfect, but I still have so many kids there. Yeah, my kids speak perfect Japanese. Okay. So as far as you can reach your goal with this tool, you are the best in the world to use this language.
Just relax. We're not judging you. We're not judging. Honestly, someone will talk about improvements. What's in my hair?
You look like a queen. She looks like a queen.
This stuff's all in my hair, isn't
Beautiful. It? And people say I should put my hat backwards.
Ew.
So I did today. Maybe this is cool.
No, I don't like that look. That's disgusting. That's like stupid little rapper boys who think they're something. I'm sorry, but rap is like not a talent.
How's that?
Sorry if you're a fan of rap.
No?
We have different opinions. That's better. Let's see, what does it say? This is duty, honor, trust. Oh, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue.
I touched a certain part.
Move your hand.
But this hand...
broken hand has no feeling, huh?
Has no feeling, so that doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
No.
You had to look down to see.
Yeah.
Huh? That's sad. That's really sad.
No, that's too private. Private.
Okay.
I think we did good. she seldom speak English. Seldom spoke English to us at all. She seldom spoke English. Sorry. He seldom. Yeah, sorry.
You already said it.
She seldom spoke Chinese to us.